So hello everybody. So welcome to this Zoom with a dear friend of mine, Luiz. And I'm inviting Luiz here because Luiz it's been a big inspiration. And Luiz was an essential. He played an essential role in my life since he was the one invited me to facilitate a project in cooperation at a psychiatric hospital in Rio back in '95, and that was a very determining in my future. And I attribute the current status of the fight as a direct consequence of this first step that keeps on unfolding. So, Luiz, thank you very much for joining me here, and I'm really happy to reconnect to you. And perhaps you could lay the ground, talk a little bit about your experiences, from the professional perspective, where you find yourself right now, and what has been happening in your life since that time. So it's 25 years ago, man. That's a long
Yesterday.
Yes, exactly. That's the feeling.
Okay, thank you very much, Bruno. It's a pleasure to be here with you and to meet you again. We have some contact during this 25 years, but now we are connecting more. It's amazing to be here. Well, I'm Luiz, okay? I'm a Brazilian guy. I'm from Rio de Janeiro too, okay? And I don't live now in Rio de Janeiro. Now I am a kind of professor in a university, okay? Scientist, this kind of stuff. I work with neuroscience. I am a biologist, and then I become a psychologist because I start to become very interested in human behavior, in human mind, and in the relationship between human mind and human body-mind interaction. Okay, and actually we met because that is an old passion of mine. Great question to me is how we can find balance between our mind, our body, and people and the environment around me. It's a small question, isn't it? No, it's a big question. Okay, and so we meet in Rio de Janeiro. I think I'm doing my PhD or something like this, in something completely scientific in the square. But I also developing this project with a friend of mine who is a psychologist to teach capoeira. And like Bruno, I have played capoeira, this Brazilian martial arts that has also music and dance and during a lot of years. And I have this idea, oh, wow, how if we use capoeira as a therapeutic tool to people who have severe psychological problems, well, certo? People with these labels, okay, schizophrenia and disturbs, this kind of thing. And we go to this hospital. It's a friend of mine that worked that. He likes capoeira too, okay? And we start to making capoeira classes. But to me, as fascinating as understanding the relationship between body and mind, how you can teach to other people and teach to ourselves new relationships between body and mind. So we start to create a kind of method, of process. Method is a very cold word. Process, okay, to make people with problems in mind and body, okay, to learn capoeira. And that's where Bruno come, because I know Bruno was and is a very creative person. So let's invite Bruno, okay? And we start to work with these people. And the idea is, okay, instead of, I'm going to teach capoeira to somebody, is like, I'm going to facilitate people to create his own movement, create his own music. The amazing thing about capoeira is because it's a very interesting and different kind of martial march, because people sing, okay? People sing, people make musics, people improvise. And improvisation to me is a kind of fantastic. It's a miracle of our brain, the ability of improvise. Sorry, I'm destroying English, okay? But I think I hope you understand what I'm saying. And so that's calm. Então, so capoeira is very good work about improvise. To me, improvisation is the key ability to live. Like me and Bruno, we are talking here without a script, okay? Oh, we can have made a script, but it's not going to be true if I'm reading something. It works, okay? But if you improvise, even if you have a script and you improvise, is what gives to life the flavor, the meaning. When you feel alive is when you feel improvising, making small changes around the script that life gives to you. And you start to improvise in your way. And that's what we're trying to promote, to facilitate to people with mental illness. They perceive that they can create things, they can improvise movements and songs. And it was amazing. It was an amazing experience.
I remember there was one person called Gilson, was a skinny, very tall guy, and quite philosophical approach. He was selling books. I don't know if you remember him. He was there's different categories of patients there. There's some patients that were known, they were sort of living there, and there were some of them that were returning kind of every day. So
Yeah.
it's more, let's say, closer to a normal lifestyle.
Yeah.
Still, rather particular type. But something that was very striking, because another inspiration for me, because you carry this nickname, cantador, you're a singer, and singing, it's my weakest point, and it was my most expressive resistance. And I remember you always in like, come on, how you can say that everybody can learn movement, but not everybody can learn how to sing. That was something that stayed with me, you know. And so during my whole period while learning capoeira in more traditional frames, I was never there myself to take the lead of singing a roda. But suddenly I found myself in a literally crazy environment. So this sense of shame was not there. So I found it was like a perfect arena where I could exercise on these inhibiting feelings of singing. And getting back to Gilson, and for me, it was one of the biggest lessons that ever I got it. Because as long as I was playing berimbau with him, he was creating his own songs. He was not improvising in old songs, just like change a little bit the words. He was just creating songs in the moment. And once he told me, no, I was asking if you know this song or that song. Like he said, why should I sing other songs? Songs of other people if I can create my own song. That was for me was mind blowing. And as long as the berimbau was being played, he was just continuing improvising non-stop, endlessly. I remember also the moments when you make the circle and you're going around like with this singing, exercising, improvising one by one, making this round around. And sometimes there was also psychologists join us. And it was funny because most of the, not all of them, but like most of the time, people who get blocked was being there like the so-called ordinary normal people. So it was an intense experience because you see lots of have side as well for being that condition. But there was another side in that condition. There was some kind of a restraints from society that don't seem to be so present. And that created this space for creativity, for improvisation. For me, it was very fascinating. It was very intense. I was to face my own fears, to project myself on the other side, to see this reality so close to me. But it was a big lesson. I was never taking this for granted. Like, okay, I am away from that situation. I was part of that. And I was considering that any moment you sleep, you fall, and maybe you can wake up in that condition as well. So that was one of the biggest fears I had to face. And I'm very grateful that I faced that at the early age.
Yeah, I have exactly a very impressive or key memory that I have about this period is exactly is because it's a kind of day hospital. Okay, there are also people that are all the time there. Yeah, people cannot go out, but there are some people that come as a day hospital. So they have problems, but they come there to have some therapy and have medicines. And there are also the psychologists from the hospital that participate in the capoeira class. So it's a very, very democratic capoeira class because you have patients and you have psychologists too. And it's amazing to see that sometimes the psychologists have more problem to improvisate in terms of singing than the patients. And we can think that our educational system don't favor improvisation. Okay, they teach us like to repeat things more than to create things. Now I'm work with creativity and neuroscience, and so it's kind of I still fascinated by this process. How we can lead ourselves, lead our brain to enter in a process of creativity, but without how we say, without to force ourselves. We can call natural creativity. Okay, effortless creativity, and that's effortless creativity. We start to see there when me and Bruno are working. People are creating things, and think, yeah, say.
And that was let's say the setup of how this teaching trajectory happened. And because you, as you well explained, was so found based upon creativity and spontaneity, improvisation. No, something, many things happen parallel to my life, but teaching, it's being ever present. I never deviate my path from teaching. I had other things on top of that. But so it's been a long time that I've been constantly teaching, and I never ever prepare one single class in my life.
Yeah.
It's no, I may have some ideas, I have my tools and cards on the pocket, no, but once I enter the space, I just have this trust that the living dialogue, interaction with the space, the energy, the people will tell me, will guide me, and I trust this guide. So I feel very much like facilitating a class is just like entering in a relationship of improvisation when you are in a contact improvisation or even a capoeira session. You have your arsenal, your of your vocabulary, but how is it going to be expressed and composed? It's like not up to you. You can't define, because if you do so, it seems like you're going to at least compromise to a great extent the possibility to go deeper in perceiving what are the options and opportunities there to be experienced. You're going to be from expressing yourself from a more unilateral perspective. You just bombard information from one side instead of you being able to be guided by. So I feel like a guiding session is much more I'm guided by. I appear as the facilitator element, but in fact, it's not the feeling. It's like, no. And it's so crazy because I can be so much into that flow. I just finished the class. I look behind and I have difficulty to remember what I did. And I said, maybe you as a neuroscientist, you can tell me if there's some kind of brain problem. But it's so much into the moment that I know. I just forget about this non-rational structure that could give me some points of reference in time space. It's just like, and I look behind like, wow, what he did in the beginning of the class.
Yeah, actually, we can think about this. Like, you say that you did never prepare a class, or we can also think we always are preparing the class. Like, if the thing you want to teach to others is how to connect to themselves, okay, and become a natural creative person, the best way to prepare a class, this kind of class, is trying this around the day. Like now, okay? Now I'm going to give classes and work. I work with mindfulness and self-compassion and other stuff, okay? In this frame of natural, effortless creativity process. So I am preparing now my future class because I'm trying to connect to my flow. What Bruno says is classical, the feeling people call in psychology flow. You feel, wow, immersed in the process. Time change sometimes lead to the finish of the process. What happened exactly? But it happened. And when you can connect to this flow, to this process, people love, you love. And what is this state? What is the state of flow? This is a great question, including psychologists. They debate about what exactly flow is. Yeah, I have my own experience about this. To me, flow is a process of less control about yourself and the others. We talk a bit about this, and what is control? Control happens when we have fear, when we have fear about ourselves or fear about others, and fear about others produce sometimes anger, fear about ourselves too. And this fear and this anger make us try to control things. It's a very natural thing, okay? Very natural. But it's natural, but not necessarily. It's good to us in the long term, okay? So to me, flow is when you can lift the control. Flow is different to be impulsive or be the way I normally I behave. That's not flow. Flow is a special state when you lift the control, you connect to yourselves, you connect to other people, and you connect with the emotion of be in love and care and joy about the things you are doing here now.
I think now we are tackling interesting points. Yeah.
Comes to me, it's not a script, okay? What think about? What think about?
Yes, I would like to explore in depth now this relationship between flow and what prevents, what blocks the flow, which is fear, and why we are conditioned now to suppress this flow. Why we have this fear that is translated as a form of control, over ourselves towards others as well. Like in your perspective now, from professional, biologist, psychologist, neuroscientist, and what are the, let's say, what do you suspect, the origins, the source of this tendency for many people to to indulge in this space of fear that prevents flow to be more constant part of our nature?
Okay. First thing, it's important to me to say, I don't want to control you. You, Bruno, you people that are seeing this film, this movie, in the sense that I don't want to say to you, oh, flow is this, okay? Because flow is something you to feel, okay? Legal? But I can share to you my experience, and also I can share to you about theories in biology, theories in neuroscience. They are very interesting and can help you, but they only can help you when you look to enter in the state and have contact to the experience, okay? So the experience of flow to me is this experience of easy. Things come, they come. The feeling of move, the feeling of sing, the feeling to talk about a theory. And it's like a music. Imagine there is music inside you. And sometimes you open yourself, you feel that music, and you start to dance with them. Not a music from an instrument, a music for your body, your mind, okay? Now we have some candidates as part of the brains that work in this process, like the ventral medial cortex in your brain that connects the rational parts of your brain with your good feeling. But it's a feeling. This is flow to me. And when you feel it, it's amazing. You feel flowing. Imagine that you are, becomes like a river. You can, wow. And a river that can turn the obstacles. They don't need to fight with them. They, is this a feeling? But why we don't experience this all time? And some people, and in some moments in our life, we don't have flow. We feel like a lake or something locked. Well, the idea is that fear and anger are natural response when we feel threat, when we feel not safe. Okay? And in our past, in our evolutionary past, and that's a theory, but that explain the feeling, try to explain the feeling. There are a lot of threats, a lot of shortage of resources, famine, disease like this one are every present. And we don't know people sometimes. So we have these emotions when we don't feel safe that try to control things. It's a reaction, and it's not a good feeling, because your mind, your body are saying to you, you are not safe. That's not a good place to stay, a good situation to stay. That's why control is complex. Even when we control other people's, they have some pleasure sometimes, a kind of egoistic pleasure. Okay, I control. But even in control others, there is a pain because you have fear to lose control. Flow what we call flow are other kinds of emotions, are emotions that arise when we feel safe. When we feel safe, we feel ourselves. We can show what we really think, what we really feel, without the need to control others.
You know, how do you see this perspective of depending on the safe ground in order to express or in order to tap into this flow? And some people, they also say is being in the zone.
Mm-hmm.
In an existential biological condition that life at first place will never be safe. No, you're always dealing with the uncertainty, with the unknown, no, no, and the fear of not knowing is going to be like. So this is something we can never remediate. We can never, we can pretend that we're going to live in a safe bubble, but that's not the reality because we are all the time, going through these threats, and that's always shaking the ground. So in a way, it seems like we can't escape so much this relationship to the fear of not feeling safe. But maybe there is a relationship also of a find a kind of a balance so that the fear that could be expressed in a more functional way or in a way that can better fulfill the, the existential purpose instead of succumbing our potential in such ways that is translating to controlling ourselves, in exaggerated fashion as much as we do towards others, and all the side collateral damage we have from this feeling of being unsafe. So how do you see this situation? If safety is the backbone of flow, but it's quite a dichotomy that you're already is an inborn condition. We are not being safe. Like we know we can die anytime, even if don't thinking about that. You know, all sick. You see lots of bad things happen around us. So what's the how you, deal with this confrontational relationship between flow and safety in a world that is not safe in the first place?
Yeah. That's a very interesting question. And it's very interesting because be safe is a very interesting state. Okay, no, for sure, there always are potential threats. Okay, you know, in some sense that explain why we cannot stay in the flow all the time. Okay, sometimes things happen and they put you out of the flow. But the interesting thing is that what's a threat? A threat, in my opinion, is not something bad. Okay? Bad thing is not a threat unless you feel that you can avoid it. Okay? A threat is not a bad thing. Only is a bad thing that you believe that you can avoid. For instance, okay, perhaps now a plane can crash here and can kill me and my family, okay, any moment. But I don't feel that I can avoid this. So my body, my mind don't feel as a threat. But if I see it appear in news, somebody ring to me, Luis, there is a plane going to your house in 5 minutes. He's going to crash. Oh, okay, now is a threat. I can do something. I can take my children and run away. That's the tricky thing. That's an hypothesis to we experiment that sometimes we become out of zone, out of flow, because you start to believe that you can control things that you cannot control. We only try to control things that we believe that you can control. So there is two ways to feel safe, and the two work. The first way is to put you in a safe condition, okay? Like, okay, it's a plane come here to my house, okay, I'm going to there. Now I feel safe, okay? That is the usual way that people try to be safe, and it works and it's good, okay, no problem to avoid planes crashing, it's okay. But there is a second way to become safe. It's to notice that the threat is not a threat because you cannot avoid it. You need to accept this. For instance, people say that when people become more old and old, like you start 20 in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, 100, many people start to see death not as a threat. Death is something that's going to happen. It's part of life. When we are young, we see death as a threat, okay? Because we can die from car crash or not die. So we need to use, how we say, centro de segurança, né? Okay? But when you become old and very old, death is not a threat more. And some people with 100 years old and good old people, they are perfectly safe, very close to death, because now death is a friend. So the question is, that's a great question, Bruno, how I can perceive which thing is a real threat, like I need to move because it's coming a plane, and what thing is not a threat because it's natural. You cannot avoid it.
I would like to link to the current situation we live in now. And maybe we should also dissect a little bit the notion of control. And which kind of control we're talking about that is a bit silly for us to know to put our fingers on. And which kind of control is a control that is part of the human enterprise in the sense of always exploring, always trying to figure out things. Maybe is more aligned with the evolutionary process of humanity. No, is this also an expression of control? The fact that you are trying to understand things. We are driven, at least apparently, you are driven into that. Now, when you link this current condition, we're in the midst of a pandemic situation, and now when you're talking about that, it's like a ring in lots of bells inside me, like because it says a lot how the humans are drowning in this situation. You are facing this threat, and you are trying to get control in something that maybe has always been there, but you're never aware of that. So it's never been an issue. Now it's exactly this example, this analogy. The plane may crash into your house any moment, but you never occupy yourself from that possibility. And now we're being sort of bombarded by the cooperative media to be over worried about a threat that is real, but we have also lived with many other threats in life that never been such an issue. And the solution now is us trying to control that. And the more you try to control that, maybe the more unsafe you feel. And the consequence of these unsafe feelings is this fear porn and this global hysteria. And the consequence of that is like very controversial, to say the least, the measures that we are sort of subscribing ourselves into. So maybe you could also share your perspective from this point you just talked about, into this current situation. How do you see that? Like, what would be maybe a good way for us to get around this dilemma?
Yeah. And there's another tricky thing to think about. As I say, here also I'm proposing things to think about, to experience about. First thing, a danger is not a threat unless we think we can avoid it. Okay, this idea. The second idea, it's a tricky one. A danger is not a threat if we think that we can avoid it, respect our inner rhythm. For instance, imagine that I say to you, to me, Luis, there is a bill, I have a bill to pay, okay? A bill in money or an obligation or a deadline. But this bill is like tomorrow. I don't have money, I don't have time, okay? I need to hurry. When we enter in hurry, you become out of the flow. Okay? Hurry is not making things fast. It's making things more fast than you like. Okay? This is hurry. And when we feel that a danger take ourselves out of our rhythm, then the danger becomes a threat. Like if I say, okay, Luis, there is a bill, there is obligation, there is a deadline that you need to fulfill, but it's in 3 months, okay? And in these 3 months, you can do your job, respecting yourself. I don't see it as a threat. I say, okay, I do, it's okay, it's nice. Especially if I feel, okay, by doing this obligation, this deadline, or paying this bill, it's going to happen to me to make things I like. Okay. So what is happening now? Things change. You have a pandemic now. Okay. You have the coronavirus, and people are forced to change very fast. And they don't know exactly if they can avoid or not, if they can make precautions or not. Like if people have if somebody has a crystal ball and say, well, in 20 years, we're going to have a pandemic, okay? People can lead without a threat. Let build hospitals, let make research, let build a vaccine. The idea is control, as I said, is a natural thing. Your body is saying to you, you are pushing you outside your limits, outside your, not limits, your natural rhythm. So that's the idea that we have inside ourselves something that tells to us all the time, Luis, do this, not more fast, not more slow, in this rhythm. This is flow, okay? And sometimes more fast, more slow, this is the flow. If you hear it, if you follow this rhythm. But when we have frets, we are pushed out of this place. For instance, in the pandemic, sometimes, no, you need to stay still in your house. You cannot move. This is the basis of depression. Okay? I'm too much slow. In other moments, no, you need to do things. Buy masks, buy medicines. That is anxiety. You are moving faster than your rhythm. And flow is when you connect to your rhythm and you perceive there is not a threat. If there is really not a threat, and then you can move, accelerate, reduce, and that's the feeling of enjoying your life, of feel your life passing in your own rhythm. Sometimes, like in music, has the crescendo, and then you enjoy life, the rhythm. You can call it natural rhythm of life. But as I said, the control is natural too, but is natural as sickness is natural. Okay?
You see control is somehow like, you can make different categories of control, more pathological control and control that could be associated to our evolutionary legacy.
Yeah, and that's a problem. Now, what is a pathological thing? Okay, there is something that is always pathologic, or some things can be pathological in some context or in other not. And when you can choose, well, now things more healthy. To me, health is like happiness. Is something that you try to become close to it, but you never reach it. You don't never ever is 100% happiness 100% of time, 100% healthy 100% of time. But it's a zone. Okay, we're talking about the zone. It's a zone. It's like the flow. We like to become close to it, but sometimes there are problems. Okay, these problems, a lot of problems, it's, I think, what people call pathological. Yeah? When we are control much more than we need. The question is, okay, control is natural, but make you sick. Many natural things. There are many natural poisons in the world. Many plants that if you eat a lot, you die. Many animals that if they bite you, you die. So too much control make you sick. But sometimes we have no choice, okay? We need to control ourselves. We need to control others. But the interesting question is, if I can reduce my control, because I discovered that there are many threats in my life that are not threats. And because I discovered who make my life more safe, who build trust in myself and trust in others. And then you need less control and you savor more life and you feel more connected to people. I think that all human beings, actually, as a biology, all living beings that have emotions, and I think that my cat have emotion, dogs have emotion, and probably a lot of animals have emotion. Any organism that have emotions, they like to feel in flow. So
Maybe this is really fascinating, and it looks like we are approaching from very much a biological perspective. And I wonder how we could take a look from the same issue, but from a social, cultural perspective. Because we are talking about some qualities that belongs to to the fact that you're just alive is now in the blueprint of our existence. We have these qualities. Having said that, we know that we are also very much a product of an environment. At least we are great influenced by the environment, by culture. So, and you can also recognize some cultures are shaping people in ways that may facilitate our process to be closer to the flow, whereas other kind of educational processes are making us more distant from that and generate all kinds of malfunctionalities, dysfunctionalities, if you will. Or we were talking about functionality recently. No, in the perspective, everything's kind of function, but we can agree maybe there are different degrees of functionality that, no, at least having this as a point of a reference. What bring us closer, no, to the zone, and what is, tossing us away from that space. And I think maybe culture is something that says a lot about our programming and our conditionings in our sense of identities and the patterns that are being consolidated over time, and how those things can become an obstacle for us to access this space, which seems to be a space celebrated by, or at least aimed by people worldwide, regardless where you come from. Some kind of belonging to the, to the fabric of a humanness.
Nice. Yes, that's another very interesting thing, like how social process humanity shape our ability to flow or to control. Okay, that's very interesting. There are some thinkers that believe that humanity is changing in the sense that we live much more. Só um segundinho. Espera um pouquinho. Now that's an event out of control. Okay. So some thinkers they believe that we are changing as a society. For instance, human beings, they live more and more. Okay, like 200 years ago, half of the children that are born, they died before make 5 years. Okay, and a person with 50 years old, we see as old people, old person. Okay, and now we live more and more. And when you have short lives and difficult lives, it's much more interesting or to control and be controlled. You have short time to make things. You have to, okay, learn, work, have children. Everybody has children this time, and die. Pa, 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 pa. And now we are changing to a society that most people are going to live a lot. I have finished psychology with 50 years old, 54 years old. And many people are doing this, working with 80s, reinventing themselves. And this is space of life that our contemporary society gives to us, lead to different ways of education. Education focus on flow, on creativity, on take time, on follow your rhythm to develop your full capacities, your full life. So as much as society become more tolerant, okay, more long-lived, more safe in terms of understand what things you can avoid, what things you cannot avoid, we're going to have more flow. We're going to use more flow in education. Now, if you go to big companies, they still want profits, but they notice that if they want to have good employees working, okay, and less of disease, because now people need to live more time. They are changing, okay? The society is changing. But the question is, even if the society is not changing, what kind of life we want to have? We want to spend most of our life trying to control ourselves and try to control others which means live most of our life in fear and anger, or we want to live most of our life creating things nice to us, connecting to other peoples, feel safe, enjoying. That's the question. That's the experience us to have. And the answer is only to us.
And it looks like that we are stuck in this loop. It's a kind of vicious circle. It's being perpetuating. You know, some values that are being developing in a certain generation, then it's handed down to the next generation. And even though things are changing, the mindset are changing, there are lots of things that are completely different from generation from our parents, which are also very different from our grandparents. So definitely we can see significant change and evolution. But there's certain things, let's say more like some fundamental principles in relationships that doesn't really seem to change so much. And that's at least is my perception, it's like my opinion, that there are qualities in the way we perceive the world, in the way relate to power, in relate we design society structure, we exploit others, to maintain a certain segregation, and there's a certain narrative that change the costumes, we change clothes, we make we make we give a different design, there's a different appearance, there may be more space, there different colors, but the fundamental drive of humanity, I I'm I personally am a little bit skeptical if you're really come to the point, a breakthrough that you could really redesign fundamental values in the society that could lead us to inhabit this space where this flow would be not something that you have to be self-conscious and spend your whole life struggling for, but it's just something that is part of our inherent nature that is can be expressed even less consciously. How do you how do you see these? Is it very critical? I'm very critical sometimes. I can be a little bit no, not very optimistic. Now, although I am also very optimistic in certain ways, but I like to face with the world around me with some kind of feet on the ground to avoid become a delusionary being, and so it's for me it's important to have a sense of balance, to read the picture, and you always read according to our own system of beliefs and and how our perception has been also molded. But I feel that the like the recipe where humanity is being cooked for thousands of years. We change the ingredients, but you're not really changing the fundamental recipe. And I think there's always people, always minorities, they are proposing that. And I think we can even give an example right now during this pandemic situation. It's, let's say the recipe is the paradigm, and we are living in a certain paradigm which is composed by collective belief systems, and cultural ethos, and so there are lots of components in this in that is so complex. It's so difficult for us to challenge that. So difficult for us to really recognize our individuation in this process, and even just the fact that we're born in a culture isn't it is already a belief system, when you identify yourself, I am Brazilian, I am a male, I am this. So all these artifact, no, that is already maybe compressing the possibility for us to perceive life in a way that we cannot even have other points of a reference, because it's become the only way we can look at life. And what I feel, there is lots of conflict that we may experience just by being born in a kind of ongoing, evolutionary societies that are stealing, this space for us to have a more complete, a more all-encompassing, expression of what means to be human. I don't know if it's become clear my point, but it's my critiques is towards like the values of a culture that maybe is not serving all the time, at least for our own best interests. So there are lots of architecture in how things are being sort of played out, that are deceiving, that are manipulating, that are using fear like to undermine people's potential. And then we become also susceptible. We are prone to feed that, and you do that with a very good intention, but what you suffer is the is a is the whole inside of our expression, and that becomes like maybe the conflict of you want to maybe to go for a certain place. At the same time, our individual and collective actions are not conducive to move into that place. So you're going to be in this kind of eternal conflict. I would like to have happiness or closer, access to happiness or joy, but my daily actions and behaviors are not conducive for that, because we're being sort of programmed, to feed a certain kind of structure that is not really supportive for the wholeness of the humanity. I think I went very complex and deep now, but if you have some thoughts about that, I would love to hear.
Yeah, yeah. It, as we talked earlier, to me, the question, the fundamental question is about qualities of experience. Okay? And a key idea is perceived that each of us live inside our experience. Okay? It's like a bubble. Okay, there is a universe, there is a humanity, okay, but we interact with this universe through this bubble. It's like the water, this history, two fish talking, and one fish asked the other, how is the water today? And the first, water? What is water? We are so immersed in our experience that normally we don't notice it. We notice it when it happens, for instance, that we are in a very good mood day, and we meet somebody that is in a bad mood, or vice versa. We are in a bad day, I have a bad night, and I wake up like this, and my wife is in a good day, and she's okay, and there's vice versa. So we are in this bubble. This is the water. This is the feelings. And to me, flow and control are qualities of the water. Okay, qualities of this water, the experience. And when we are in control, trying in control mode, and everybody is in control mode sometimes, the water is filled with fear and anger. That's why control exists. That's the natural whole of control. Okay? And when we are in flow, the water is filled with love, curiosity, kindness. Okay, but I can think, but Luis, okay, now you are in flow, you are in a bubble with kindness, love, curiosity, but in the rest of the world, many people is not in this bubble. They are suffering. And that's true, huh? A question is, what helps more humanity? It's when you are in a bubble of fear and anger, of despair, or when we are in a bubble of kindness, love, and curiosity. The answer to this is complex. Depends. Depends in what? There is a real threat that I can change fast. Like, okay, if now I become very angry and very fearful, I can change the humanity very fast, or it's a process that have years and years and years. Okay? Like many things that we take for granted today, like many human rights start to be built like 100 years ago. 100 years ago, most people in the world living in slavery, and it takes 100 years to diminish this. We still have slavery today. And if something is going to happen in the scale of the planet, it's going to take 100 years. 100 years is something that you cannot use control to change. 100 years, you need to plant a seed. You need to put water in the seed all day, all day. It's like to raise a child with love. So the question, the great question, or that I believe is, we are not as individuals that are going to change this. Understand? I believe, okay? It's populations, countries, billions of people that are going to change this. So I, Luis, cannot change the world, but I can ask to myself, in what part of the world I want to belong in the next years? In the flow people or in the control people? This kind, you want to be part of the problem or part of solution. Not because you are going to solve, but when you look to your life back, very old, you see, okay, I try to become part of the flow people, the people that try to create kindness, curiosity, love. Okay?
Well, I think that could be a great point to wrap around, you know, the very uplifting message. I really enjoy this, you know, which kind of group you want to belong to, you know. And this is a great reflection, and I'm gonna take this close to my heart. And I'm really, really grateful for this exchange with you, a brother. And we didn't talk about many other subjects, and such as consciousness, something that maybe you could have a second round sometime later in the future.
Yeah. We didn't follow the scripts. Oh no! I hate things out of control. Thank you very much. It was amazing. Thank you, Bruno.
Very much, Luis. Yes, so it's a big pleasure.
Big pleasure too, huh? See you in the next.
See you in the next.